Now we're live. All right.
There we are.
All right. Okay. Yes. So now I'm starting to see people coming in. All right, you guys. So as you're coming in, just please leave your name and where you're from and what type of operation are you trying to get started. We'll give it a little bit. We'll give it a few more minutes or seconds to get started. We'll allow a few more people to get in. I don't see anyone in the comments though leaving their name. Leave your name, your state, where you're from, and what type of trucking operation are you trying to get started.
Albany, Georgia.
We have Albany, Georgia, Drolandius. Hello. Trying to start a box truck operation. Awesome. Some people are messaging that they didn't get the link. So let me just make sure everything's okay. Okay, so there's an issue with the link.
No.
Let me see if I can help those that are having trouble really quick. All right. So I think some people are having trouble with the link. So I'm gonna take care of that. But in the meantime, we're gonna get started for those that are here. What do you think?
Yeah, it's
Okay.
recorded, so always
Okay.
reference that.
Exactly. All right. So Teresa, how are you? Teresa from Tennessee, box truck and courier. Teresa, I think you were here last time, and you're my client. So thanks for always supporting. Jasmine from South Carolina. You want to start a box truck? Awesome. Okay. All right. So we're gonna get started since we're 5 minutes in.
All right.
Okay. Okay, so you guys, so this webinar, it's with Daniel and I. I have Daniel here. We're going to be talking about how we help owner operators when it comes to saving $15,000 to $45,000 in trucking startup costs. Um, Daniel is Daniel has a lot of experience in the industry, so I'm so excited to be or have him on the webinar so he can provide even more in-depth insight and answer any questions that you guys may have. Um, but make sure that you guys stay all the way to the end because we will be dropping a lot of value throughout, and so we have some gems that you don't want to miss. Um, and let's get started.
Let's do it.
All right. All right, so just so that you guys have a better understanding of who we are, so we actually combined have over 20,000 subscribers on YouTube. Daniel is with Charles String Insurance Agency, and I am with DOT Compliance Management, along with Burgos Trucking Insurance. As you can see, with the amount of subscribers that we have, we drop a lot of value on YouTube. So just make sure that you check out both pages and subscribe to our channels. A little bit more about myself. So I am the lead compliance specialist at DOT Compliance Management, and I'm also a licensed insurance for over 10 years. What I love to do is work with especially new owner operators, and I help them with launching, growing, and scaling their trucking business in a safe and economical way. This year, one of my biggest accomplishments was working with one new owner operator specifically. I worked with him to scale from 1 to 5 trucks within 7 months, which ended up saving him, and I ended up saving him $20,000 in startup costs.
That's awesome.
This is Daniel. So Daniel is actually the principal agent of Charles String Insurance Agency. Daniel has worked since 2018 helping truckers save money on their truck insurance. He's very well versed when it comes to not only new owner operators, but also established truckers. And one accomplishment of Daniel's, one major accomplishment of Daniel's is that he's been able to insure over 2,000 clients over the years.
Yep. That number keeps growing. It's been great.
Is it still 2,000, or where are we at now? The last time we spoke, you had some big numbers.
I think we're close. I think we're close to 2,600 now. Yep.
Great.
It's the last,
awesome.
Yeah, it's been going.
Love it. Awesome. Okay. All right. So who is this webinar for? This webinar is mainly for newer owner operators, someone that's looking to start a trucking business. You're thinking about it, but you might feel a little overwhelmed, or you're afraid to make some sort of costly mistake. And you basically are just looking for some sort of guidance and some help. So DOT Compliance Management, we exist to help both the smaller and the larger fleet. But again, on this webinar today, we're just focusing on newer owner operators who need help when it comes to starting their trucking business the right way. All right, so we're going to start off with what new owner operators are facing in the industry on a day-to-day and the things that we hear. So you're going to see that I posted on this slide two comments from Facebook groups, right, of new owner operators basically complaining about them not being able to find loads and contracts when they're getting started. So here I'm just going to briefly read it. It says, "Greetings, everyone. I have a new authority and no one will hire me. I have a 2016 Isuzu box truck. He goes into the height of his box truck. He says that he has excellent equipment. He has excellent Geico commercial policy. Would any of you be willing to work with a new authority? Thank you." So this person specifically, it seems like he has everything set up, excellent insurance, excellent equipment, excellent everything, but he's still in a Facebook group right now, asking people for help because the challenge he's facing is that no one's willing to work with his new authority. And then if we look to this comment on the right, it's saying, this guy says, "I am having trouble finding any loads that are worth taking on any load board. I'm located in Mobile, Alabama. I have done some local loads by knocking on doors, but other than that, I'm struggling bad because of my new authority that is now at 32 days active. Please, any advice will help because it is hard paying $1,500 in insurance plus other expenses and barely being able to break even. Please, no hate comments as I am a new owner operator." So again, another example of someone in a Facebook group, okay, that is struggling to find someone that's willing to work with them, being that their authority is only 32 days active. So these are only 2 comments of many. So I can show quite a few. Daniel could also share some of the phone calls that he gets on a daily basis. We both get phone calls on a daily basis. Daniel, can you share like kind of what you hear on a daily basis from new owner operators, especially as an insurance agent?
This is like one of the biggest challenges in the beginning, you know, aside from just putting together startup costs, right? Finding brokers, you know, it's been better and worse. I'd say right now it might be easing up just a little bit, but overall it's not what it used to be, you know, 3-4 years ago when you could hop in a truck on day one, pretty much get a load going anywhere. You definitely want to be more strategic about it now. But yeah, this is the majority of what I hear is, you know, the first 90 to 180, you know, 3 to 6 months is really tough to get most brokers to work with you. Even some might want you to wait a year and have good inspections, and they're getting pickier about the insurance companies you can use. It's definitely getting harder. So yeah.
Can you give an example? Have you dealt with anyone that you kind of tried to advise to, you know, to be aware of this, and they decided to go their own route, and then kind of like what happened after?
The most common thing I think I see or hear about is, you know, the guy that's wanting to just leave whoever he's currently leased onto or working for, driving for, and go out and start their own thing as fast as possible, where it's like I'm running away from my boss scenario, and you'll blow through your money. I've had guys do that where it's you know, like, oh, I got to get on the road, I got to get away from my current job, you know, and it's not always like you're already driving. You could be sitting behind a desk and you just can't take it anymore. That's a fun one. But yeah, you get out there and then you're stuck. You can't, you know, you might get a load going to, you know, from A to B, but then trying to get back from B to A, like you could end up sitting for a week. I've heard of people sitting for like 5-6 days at a time, waiting for a load that, you know, will at least break even. Or, you know, worse, people are willing to take a loss to come home. And it's not the situation you want to be in.
For sure. And in a case like that, are these guys like keeping up with their insurance? Like what happens on the insurance side of things?
You cash flow negative eventually. Depends on the size of your nest egg. And if you don't have, you know, a lot saved, like even if you have a lot saved up, you don't want to do that. So yeah, be strategic, make sure that you have options for brokers, that you're not going to be limited constantly, and getting passed on for loads.
For sure. Okay. So, yep. So one of the things that I always like, you know, what I advise as you're working on your game plan and setting up some sort of strategy for yourself, just make sure I always, hold on, this is not, okay. Just make sure you're always, ask yourself these 2 questions, basically, right? The first question is, number 1, where are you going to be getting your loads from? That's the first question you want to make sure that you're able to answer. And then the second question is, ask yourself, how much is your truck and insurance going to cost you for the first 6 months of operation? Because again, if you don't have those, if you cannot articulate the answers to these questions, then it could lead to some challenges that you don't want to face, right? It's especially important for you guys to answer these questions because I'm going to break it down for you using this basic math problem really quick. So let's just say, for example, on average, the truck payment is $3,000. And let's say on average, you have these, again, brokers and shippers are requiring that your authority has been active for at least 6 months before they'll work with you, okay? So on average, we have our truck payment, that's $3,000. And you multiply that by 6 months of having to wait for a company to work with you. That's $18,000 that you've spent in 6 months just for a truck payment. Now we're going to look at the insurance payment. If we take on average $1,500 that it's going to cost you in insurance, again, it could be a little less, it could be a little more, depending on the state that you're in, depending on your truck. But again, we're just using average numbers. If you take $1,500 on average in insurance payments, multiply that by 6 months, you're looking at $9,000 in insurance payments. If you take that truck payment of $18,000 plus the $9,000, you're looking at $27,000 in fixed expense. Okay, and this is one of the most common mistakes new owner operators are making. They're not doing this math, and then they're finding themselves in what I call like a $27,000 black hole, if not more. And we haven't included any other costs or expenses. And then again, we're dealing with brokers and shippers that potentially may not work with us until we can show that we've been active for at least 6 months. All right. So again, on average, it's costing $15,000 to $45,000 to get started for the first 6 months. Brokers and shippers are on the load board. They're requiring that new owner operators have aged their authority for at least 3 to 6 months. If you guys, any of you are familiar with Amazon, Amazon's requiring that you've had your authority for at least 6 months, at least Amazon Relay. And so a lot of the brokers and shippers are following right behind that. And we want to make sure that we're avoiding this. Again, another thing that's happening is truckers are tapping into savings and they're creating a very high fixed expense without a guaranteed income. And all of this is what I kind of call like a recipe for disaster, lost money, right? Wasted time and shattered dreams. And again, this is what we don't want to happen. This is what I'm calling a $27,000 black hole.
Yep.
Anything you wanted to add to that?
No, you've got it. I mean, that's the highlight there.
Okay. So there is a better way. Okay. So those were like that's kind of like the scary thing side of what's happening. I wanted to make sure that I paint a picture for new owner operators so you truly understand, okay, like what is it that I'm about to face when I get into this trucking business? But again, there is hope for owner operators who want to avoid that trap. All right, so we're going to talk about what owner operators are doing to succeed. So number one, I have here that they're avoiding unaffordable truck payments without knowing where their income is coming from. And then they're paying as low as $200 to $600 per month towards insurance. And again, we'll talk deeper into like how's that happening or how's that so. All right, we're going to talk about how to avoid the trap and get started what we call the smart way. And I'm going to let Daniel take it away on the 1, 2, 3 steps to aging your authority.
All right. So are there more slides? Yeah, step 1. So just starting with your FMCSA profile, like your application, there's two points where you'd be entering into this. Either you've already applied or you're about to apply. If you haven't already applied, then there's a way to go through the FMCSA application, which Jamie could certainly help you with that. Or if you've already applied, you more than likely already have your required limit of insurance, the BIPD required limit from the FMCSA, set to $750 or $1 million, maybe, hopefully not. You need to get that limit lowered down to $300, which is the base minimum limit you can get and still have interstate motor carrier authority. So in order to do that, Jamie can help you either way. But the goal is to get that limit set to $300, because then we can get an active authority starting a policy at that limit. Let's go on to step 2. So you must have a personal vehicle, right? We need a VIN number from a personal, or a private passenger vehicle. So a sedan, the lower the weight class, the better, the cheaper the insurance will be at that $300K limit. And when we say the $300K limit, that's just auto liability. There's no physical damage, no comprehensive collision coverage, anything like that. We're not actually insuring this personal vehicle. We're using it as a placeholder so that we can get the policy started and start aging the authority once the authority goes active, right? This is the absolute cheapest possible way to do this. So yeah, gotta have a personal vehicle, just a temporary placeholder, and big warning disclosure here, that does not cover your vehicle. Like if you have personal insurance, you're going to keep that. You don't want to use commercial insurance for personal usage. One, because there might be easy ways to deny any claims. And 2, if you did get in an accident, you want that on your personal insurance, not your commercial insurance, because commercial policies are much less forgiving. That's step 3. And yeah, so these policies can be super cheap. I've even seen some under $200 a month. But I'd say the 200 to 600 is a good range. We start that policy at the 300K limit with nothing else on there, right? It's just completely stripped basically of what a trucking policy would be, down to the 300K auto liability limit. That gets your authority active. And then you're adding time to that authority for however long you want to go before you start. My recommendation is probably 3 to 6 months, maybe a little bit longer. Everyone's got a unique scenario. So that's why it's good to work with an agent and like have a discussion about your business plan, right? And maybe you're trying to figure out your business plan. That's where we can help. We've got a lot of insight because we deal with tons of trucking companies. We get the policy started. It can be really cheap. Just like any other policy, the 2 biggest factors are your driving record and your credit score. But yeah, that's 1, 2, 3 of getting this thing going. It's really not that hard. The biggest challenge can be getting the limit to 300 if you've already applied with the FMCSA, but it's not hard. We can certainly help you out with that.
Yeah, I'll get phone calls, Daniel, of people who have already they already got the authority, they got their insurance policy in place, and then 2-3 months into the business, they're running into the challenge of not being able to get loads, and they're asking me if we can work to age the authority.
All right, so I should have said there's 3 points of entry to this. You haven't applied, you've already applied, but you're not operating yet. And third option would be you're trying to go back, like you started, but you want to take a break and let this thing age. So in that scenario, just depends on what you've got with your truck. If you've got your truck like financed, or if you're, I don't know, there's like, for instance, I've done this quite a bit with rental trucks. It's not such a big deal. You turn the rental truck in, we put a personal vehicle on the policy, placeholder, and get the limit down to 300. That's easy going. And actually then you'll see really cheap rates because you've already put like down payment and everything on a more expensive truck. The way the billing comes out, you might be paying $100 a month in that scenario for the time being.
On their agent. Wouldn't you say that?
Say what?
Wouldn't you say it also depends on their agent?
Yeah, not every agent can help you with this. They don't understand how it works. And it's like, here's the problem. Here's the disconnect. Typical transportation or commercial insurance agents don't engage with any regulatory body like the FMCSA. So like finding one that does, like Jamie and myself, that's a whole different ball game, right? Like finding an agent that understands how this other entity works is very beneficial to you, the trucking company owner, right? So it's not something I charge for. Well, I would refer you to Jamie if you need help, like actually processing paperwork, but I can tell you how to do it if you want to do it yourself, that type of thing. But a lot of the time people want to just get someone that knows what they're doing to get this done. So
to avoid mistakes, because a big mistake ends up being,
and it's time consuming, and exactly. Anytime with time comes money, right? So like it's going to cost you more if you don't get it done right the first time. And some stuff is not, either it's not repairable or you make a mistake and you don't realize it until you're way further down the road and it costs you a lot more. Yep. But that's it for getting this started. Yeah. If you are going backwards in a sense, right? Like you're going from operating back to like a cooking state or aging, totally doable. Just get in touch with Jamie. She can help you out.
For sure. So we just went over in a nutshell how you can save $15,000 to $45,000 in trucking startup costs within those first 3 to 6 months, or however long you decide to age your authority for. All right. A little bit more again with DCM, DOT compliance management. We take a comprehensive approach with our clients. So aging the authority is not the only thing that we'll work with you. If you need anything else when it comes to compliance and getting set up, that's what we're there for. We are 5-star rated. If you check us out on Google. Our compliance program, the way we work with you is to kind of work with you and your game plan, your strategy, and help you formulate that blueprint and strategy. We'll work with you with getting you a competitive insurance quote. And then we also work with you on the compliance side of things to make sure you have a portal and back-end office support, which includes, again, the portal, and then just having us to support you on that back end. So just really quick, if you're getting your authority set up to age, right? If you're wanting to age your authority and you are a non-CDL driver, then your requirements are on this left-hand side. You're going to have your EIN and LLC. You have to have a DOT number set up. We work with you to get the MC, the BOC3, again, the insurance, your UCR registration, and then we'll work with you to set up your driver qualification file. If you're a CDL driver, then not only do you have to get everything that a non-CDL driver has to get, but you also have to get more. So, right, that would include your IFTA and IRP registration. That's when you're deciding to go fully operation, not immediately, but once you decide to make the transition from aging to going fully operational, you're going to have more things that you're going to be required to get, which is the IFTA and IRP registration, get your 2290 heavy use tax, be signed up with the Drug and Alcohol Consortium, which we are a consortium, and then be registered with the clearinghouse, along with getting any state permits for any states that you decide to cross through. So we work with you on all of that. After the 6 months, we work to transition you from aging your authority to being what we call fully operational, right? Ready to get on the road and started. Not only do we work with you on that, but driver onboarding. We work with you when it comes to pulling PSPs, pre-employment screenings, pre-employment drug tests, any employment applications, med card verifications, verification of employment, setting up the MVR, and then setting up the driver qualification file, which every driver, including an owner, is required to have a driver qualification file, regardless of whether you are CDL or non-CDL. So again, we work with you guys on that. And then we also have ongoing support and monitoring. So we work with you. If we work with you to set up the aging or anything as far as setting up your authority, we will work with you also to pass your new entrance audit, make sure that you're developing a positive CSA score. We work with you on a monthly we check monthly to make sure that you're keeping everything as they should with FMCSA and you're remaining compliant. And then we'll also work with you with setting up your ELD and, again, compliance monitoring. All right, so we're going to take this QR code. If you're looking from if you're watching this from a desktop, you can just take a picture of it, and it's going to send you the link where you can book a call so that we can have a 15-minute strategy session. Just so that you guys have an idea of what it looks like, or I'm going to also take this link and drop it in the comment section so that you guys have it to book a call. We're also going to do an FAQ. So if you guys have any questions at the moment, go ahead and start dropping your questions in the comment section because we're going to go through them with you guys.
Yeah, we got a couple.
The other last thing that I want to do, what'd you say?
So I think we got a couple in here already, or maybe just one.
Okay.
Sean Chambers.
I have Jasmine. Jasmine says, yes, Jamie most definitely got all of my paperwork and insurance taken care of for me for way cheaper than I thought. Nice. All right, the proof is in the pudding.
Yeah. Sean said, so that 300K limit would suffice as the 1 million in liability and 100K in cargo needed for an MC to go active. I'll take this one. So okay. Brokers, whenever we're talking about requirements of anything related to insurance, we got to pick apart who cares about what. Brokers need to see 1 million in liability, auto liability, not general liability, unless they specifically state that. But almost all brokers are going to want at least 1 million in auto liability and 100,000 in cargo. That's for brokers. That's the requirement of brokers, typically for most operations. The FMCSA, unless you are a auto hauler, does not care if you have $1 million in auto liability, nor do they ever check to see if you have cargo, unless you're a moving company like house to house. They won't check cargo. They won't check general liability. They only look at auto liability. And for most operations, they only care if you have at least 750,000. It's so weird that like the industry standard for actually doing business is $1 million, like what the brokers want. But the FMCSA, for almost everyone except auto haulers, only cares that you have at least 750. And that's what's posted publicly. So if you have a $5 million auto liability policy, you don't want that posted publicly. I'll hear all the time that people are like, oh, I need it to show $1 million. No, you don't. Like, you don't want it to. You want it to show the bare minimum that the government requires of you. So that being said, when we do these applications with the FMCSA, when we like initially do them or go back and change them, we're bringing that required limit for the FMCSA down to 300. So you're meeting that at least minimum requirement. And that's what gets the policy started so cheap.
Yep. What's the next question? Let's see. Does it cost $1,800 to get my DOT number? No, it does not cost to get your DOT number, Edgar. It's free. A DOT number doesn't cost anything.
MC number costs money.
Correct.
But not 1,800.
For sure.
Yep. What's the name of the insurance? In order to do this with Aging the Authority, Progressive's pretty much one of the only insurance companies you can do this with. Have you had an experience, Jamie, with anybody else yet?
Mm-mm.
Yeah, for now, it's still Progressive. Might be some more coming. We'll see.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. What's next? If I have drivers working under me, but using their own vehicle, how does that work with insurance? You want to take that one, Jamie?
So if you have drivers working under you, but they're using their own vehicle, so it sounds like a lease-on type program.
Yep.
How does that work with the insurance? You can go for it, but that sounds like a lease-on program. Where
People get this twisted all the time, and it's an epidemic, in my opinion. This is worse than COVID. If someone is operating and booking loads under your authority, that driver and their vehicle has to be listed on your auto liability and cargo, right? Now, if you have a package policy, that just means you add them to that one policy. If you have those lines of coverage split out between different insurance companies, they have to be added to each one. If you have other coverages, like trailer interchange or non-owned trailer coverage, there's some other like ancillary coverages. They probably got to be added to that too, if they're split out. If it's package policy, it's nice and easy. We just add them to the one policy. You're good to go. Physical damage is something that they should get on their own. I don't recommend motor carriers allow owner operators to get on the motor carrier's physical damage coverage, because that can be a nightmare, right? Like, they can have their own physical damage coverage, the owner operator, for their truck. That doesn't have to be on yours. If you do it, like, you're just putting yourself more at risk for someone that can get a claim and then dip out and move on to the next company tomorrow, right? Like, it's not the ideal situation. The only other thing I would suggest is that you require all your owner operators to have bobtail coverage or non-trucking liability. So if they're ever using their truck while they're not working for you, then if they get in a claim, they have that non-trucking liability policy that would cover that situation. Because otherwise, if they don't have non-trucking liability and they're in a commercial vehicle, if anything happens, whether they're working for you or not, anyone can sue your policy, like go after you and your policy. So important that you require non-trucking liability or bobtail. Like, most insurance companies don't want to call it bobtail anymore. It's a weird legal thing, but yeah, require non-trucking liability. It's good business.
So Teresa, she's actually a client of mine. She has a either box truck or she's going to want to transition into doing box trucks or cargo van, I believe. So, yes, Teresa, you can have drivers working under you, but as Daniel said, you want to make sure that they have their own specific insurance policies in place. So that would be the non-trucking liability and the physical damage. Non-trucking liability is basically covering them when they're not on dispatch with you. And then the physical damage is covering their truck if anything were to happen to their actual truck, so that you're not liable for anything for their truck, but you're liable for their auto liability. Like you're liable for if
they could hit somebody else. Or
correct, while they're on the job underneath your authority working. Yep. So I hope that answers. Go ahead,
Sean. I think we covered Teresa's question. Sean, you're spot on. We get the authority age to whatever period you want to get to, and then we go in, we up the policy, we add on the truck that you're going to be running with, and that's going to meet the broker requirements, and you're good to go.
Edgar, I was contacted by someone and they said it would cost $1,800 to do all of this. To aid your authority, it does not cost $1,800. So I'm not sure who you spoke to, but again, you can always hop on that link that I added into the comments section. If you click on it, just book a strategy session or call in, and whoever picks up should be able to set some sort of time to speak to. You can even speak to me. Just ask to speak to Jamie and they'll set up a time for us to speak. And then we can kind of go over the pricing or whatnot. Kevin, what if you already submitted your application to the FMCSA? Again, so Kevin, I would suggest that you hop on a link or the calendar as well, because again, depending on how you completed your application, that's going to determine the route that we need to take. So we either need to make an amendment, or we might find that it's already set up in the way that it needs to be set up and nothing needs to be done, and we just continue to move forward based off of how you've already set it up. Perfect. Teresa, yes, I'm doing courier also. Very much appreciated. Okay, it sounds like any other questions that sounds like we answered all the questions that came in so far. Any other questions?
I think that's it.
That's it?
Yeah.
All right. Going once, going twice.
I have leased on with a company, however, they don't. What?
That's exactly how he said it. Reginald, you have to restate that question.
Oh, Sean might have another question too. How do we help you find drivers? Jamie, are you doing anything for driver sourcing?
No, remember we spoke about potentially doing that.
Yeah.
But
yeah. It's been pinned up on the idea board for a while.
Yes, it has. I can always refer you to a third-party company, but we don't actually work with helping to find drivers.
Reginald, trying to reread this. However, they don't.
Regime, so it depends on what exactly that you where you're at in the process, but typically it's under $1,000 to get everything set up.
Sean, yeah. So the service side, Jamie can help you with that, like pre-employment screening and drug testing. Lining all that up to make sure the compliance piece is all there. But neither of us have driver boards or driver sourcing, recruiting stuff in place. I'll say yet.
Correct.
Could happen. Maybe sooner than later.
Yep, for sure. Um, what's next? I saw another question.
Gail, so you do everything, including insurance, right? And FMCSA application.
Yes.
And then
A company, Leslie is saying, a company is telling me it's $300 a week to use their insurance if I'm under their MC.
could be.
Yeah,
that's not too bad.
that sounds.
$1,200 a month, and they're probably paying you weekly and deducting weekly. That's pretty common. Yeah. Not a bad way to do it. But if you could get insurance cheaper and run on your own, why not start your own authority?
Exactly. What do most owner operators do during the aging process? That's a great question.
That's a great question. It depends. Some people are, driving under another authority during that period of time. Some people are working whatever previous job they have prior to, moving over to running their own trucking company, driving for themselves. I have heard of everything you can imagine. I had one guy that was in grad school and decided he was working at a dealership in grad school and decided he was going to hit the road and could do all of his schoolwork from the road. So he aged his authority until he got to the point he wanted to, and then hit the road and quit his job at the dealership. He got a really good deal on a truck from the dealership he worked at, so that was kind of cool. And finished up grad school while he was on the road, and it took him like 2.5 years. And then it was sad, but he called me one day. He's like, "Yep, just graduated. Time to shut this down." And I was like, "Oh man, all right, well." That's a really cool way to, finish out school though.
It's really your choice, Jasmine. Like, everyone has a different story. So if you are like in a place where you're stable income wise, then you can stay where you're at. And if you're in a job, if you can decide to go lease onto someone else's authority, like Daniel said, and get your feet wet. Some people are very, very new and they don't have the experience of driving over the road. And so they would just want to get their feet wet and get a feeling of what it means to pick up and drop off a load. Then, you want to find someone to lease onto and get your practice in that way.
Yeah. Just to be super clear, when you're aging the authority, you're not actually operating. Like, there's no operations on the business. You're not hauling any loads. You're just, we've got it as cheap as possible so that it can sit there and age where it makes sense, right? So the reason that all this came about, right, getting the limit lowered, finding the cheapest policies, because I ran into people that were like, "Oh, well, I've got this semi truck and I'm just going to put it on the policy and let it age at regular limits, just because I'm going to stay leased on to somebody so I can get some time on this." And it was like, wow, that's a waste of money because you could do it cheaper. That's not, the point of all of this is that there's no operations under that MC, because this policy is going to be the only one tied to that MC, and you'd be working somewhere else.
All right. Any more questions? Going once, going twice. The last little thing I wanted to say, if you guys do have any additional questions, then I have here on the screen, again, the link that I posted in the comment section will take you to this page, and you can literally just click book a call with Jamie, and then just choose any one of these available dates that you see open, and take it from there.
We got a couple more that just rolled in.
Okay.
Let me answer Reginald real quick. So the company he's leased onto leases him the truck, and they won't allow him to put his DOT number on the truck. You wouldn't worry about that while you're aging the authority, because you're still going to be leased onto that company leasing their truck. If they do give you the option to take that truck and run under yourself later on, that's cool. Once you're, at that point where you're done aging the authority and want to go out, operational. But yeah, that's not uncommon. A lot of companies lease you the truck, you lease onto their authority, and if you want to leave, they may or may not allow you to take the truck with you. There might be like a buyout period where you have to work X amount of time. There's a million different ways to skin that cat. So just got to check the terms on the lease. What else? How would you suggest we scale our companies? If, in my mind, if I can secure 2 trucks with drivers, low fixed expenses, and my authority is already aged to operate under my own MC, the only thing would be to stay afloat until income increases. Yeah. Ooh, there's a lot of ways to go with that. That's a big question. It's kind of a linear thing when you're talking about expanding. You know, more trucks, more drivers, more money, more revenue, right? So it's a matter of managing the finances, but also it gets more complicated, and then you need like infrastructure of people. As you know, 5 to 10 trucks is normally where people hire like admin. And if you're on the road, do you get off the road? Like there's a lot of scenarios that become like very specific to your situation, but that's something, you know, talk with Jamie. She can help you out with that. What else was I going to say? No, that's kind of it.
Okay. And then the last comment, yep, Jasmine, she's currently working on
That's
my
good
job.
timing.
Okay.
Yep, that's good timing.
Yep.
Graduate and then hit the road.
Perfect. All right, you guys. Well, again, you can either call in and then book that way with whoever you get on the line, or you can just do it yourself by using this link that I included in the comment section. Again, I'm going to leave it in the section one more time for anyone that missed it. And then I look forward to speaking with you guys and working with you. Are there any payroll companies you would suggest to us? Payroll for 1099s?
Yeah, for both. Depends on what, if you hire W-2 or 1099. QuickBooks is the easiest way to get started. And then if you start growing, you might want to switch to something a little bit more robust like ADP or Paychex or one of the big names. Just depends on your scenario and how fast you're going to expand. If you're going to expand fast, yeah, go ahead.
No. I didn't mean to cut you off. I was going to say typically like the bank will, like they'll offer some sort of QuickBooks service that you can connect.
Yep.
And QuickBooks is typically the easiest one to use as a new owner operator.
Yep. And when it comes to accounting and taxes, like any accountant's going to be able to plug in and help you out there. That's, for me, that's the biggest bonus, is like I can manage QuickBooks, but my accountant can do what they need to do, right? Like, yep.
Awesome. Okay.
Yep.
Our biggest concern is being tax compliant, and you don't understand employee. So get a CPA, really. That too. Exactly. Right. Yep. You want to make sure that you're tax compliant. So getting a CPA, the person that would set up your taxes as well, they can help you with that. Yep. For sure. That was a good one, Sean. All right, you guys. So again, I look forward to speaking to you all, and you guys have a great rest of your day, and talk to you soon. Bye.
Thanks.